podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Ed, how the heck are you?
It was huge. I'm just going to start and finish the show like that every week.
You've done that one before. I feel like you got to mix it up.
Look, I've got very big hands. Very, very big hands.
You didn't have to Photoshop them or anything. How are you going up and down stairs?
That was a good story. The stairs story, that is. I'm very good, thanks. Yeah, I enjoyed the second half of today's game.
Yes.
We're recording on Sunday. That was very good.
It was.
The first half, not so good.
Very
the whole
bad.
game against Hull, not good at all.
No, a very bad game of football. The stats from the first half, which I've got a photo of in my phone because I took a photo of Sky Sports and put it on Twitter. We were outshot, outpassed, outpossessed by Hull. Hull, I tells you. I mean, admittedly, we were 2-0 up, but still, a kind of disgraceful performance in a little way, I thought.
Against Hull?
Yeah.
And I think the disgrace came in the complacency that was on show for everybody to see. I mean, I'm not sure there's anybody in the United side who gets away with it. I mean, Pogba had a decent-ish game, but, you know, at times he was strolling around, and the time when he tried to do some ridiculous trick with about 20 minutes to go, in totally the most inappropriate time to do it and lost the ball, kind of summed a lot up, didn't it? You know, United just thought they could turn up and win this game, and it wasn't true.
I mean, it's interesting because if you listen back to our preview last week, I'm pretty sure we would basically have said, well, United can just turn up and win this game.
Yeah, but that's all right. We're a couple of fans chatting on the podcast.
Yeah.
They're professional footballers paid hundreds of thousands of pounds a week, and it wasn't good enough, was it? You know, and I think that, you know, not to get into kind of Paul Merson territory or anything like that, but, you know, the minimum you want to ask for is like a better level of effort. And it didn't feel like that was happening, did it?
I'm not sure that's really Mercy's MO. In fact, to talk about Merson, Marco Silva emerged from that game with plenty of credit, which was sort of pleasing to see, even though, of course, would have liked United to be more comfortable. There wasn't too much complacency in the starting 11.
Strong starting 11.
Yeah, there were a few tweaks, weren't there? Particularly at fullback. I don't think Valencia played, did he? So with a very, very sort of lopsided and not particularly effective attacking support from our fullbacks. But the midfield three and the front three were pretty decent.
Good enough to give Hull a game, you'd think, but apparently not. Hull, who had about 65% possession in that first half, you know, it was incredible. They were very effective. Huddleston and Cluckus in the centre of midfield, pretty good. I thought their back four, excellent. Hull, you know, really did had a good game, controlled a lot of the game. There's a period during the second half that United sort of started to get into the game. You know, a nice goal from Pogba, nicely worked goal and a good finish with his toe. But for a lot of it, Hull seemed pretty comfortable. Mourinho, of course, wouldn't believe that, would he? Because of the penalty.
It's 1-1. It is 1-1. This game is 1-1. Just finished 1-1. I did not see it. I did not see the goal.
Yeah, quite childish.
He's a big silly. He's a big silly.
He's a grown man. Or supposed to.
Well,
grown man. Yeah. Behaving very much like a toddler. Yeah, that was very odd. I mean, look, obviously it was a ridiculous penalty.
I mean, there's lots of people, like Zonal Markings, Michael Cox, arguing that it was definitely a penalty because he pulled his shirt and you're not allowed to pull people's shirts.
Oh.
Felt more like he tickled his shirt lightly, really, didn't it?
Yeah. Okay, fine, you know, to get all punditry on this one. Well, if we're going to be like that, we'll have 5 penalties a game.
Well, we should for 10 games and then it'll be ironed out forever. That's what people always say back to that argument, isn't it? I mean, the thing about it is, it's not like he dived because he felt a tug on his shirt. He fell over because he was clattered into by his teammate, and that happened at the same time that the referee saw Rocco, was it? I think it was Rocco, brushing him with his fingers and catching, literally snagging a fingernail on a little bit of fabric in the whole shirt, so it came out a little ways.
Yeah, but Rocco's that hard that he could kill you with a finger.
He's not hard, though, is he?
He's not.
He pretends hard. He's Argentinian and has tattoos and is a defender, but actually isn't hard.
Do you think there's some framing bias going on here?
Yeah, I think so. I think there might be. But yeah, they're very well dispatched penalty, and Hull definitely deserved whatever Mourinho might have said. It was hardly against the run of play, hardly a shock that United were 1-0 down at half-time on the balance of play.
Right, yeah.
What do you think? Do you think that because he kind of went with a halfway house team selection, like lots of strength in there. Pogba, Ibrahimovic, Mkhitaryan didn't play, I don't think.
No.
But Lingard and Rashford out on either side of Ibrahimovic, right? So there's a kind of halfway house thing there. Or is that right? Hold on, sorry.
Yeah,
Tom,
I mean,
I'm gonna.
So Lingard played on the right wing and Darmian at right back, and Rashford sort of played on the left. Not his most comfortable position, and Rocco.
He was all right though, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was all right. Marcus Rashford was. I thought.
All right. You know, not exactly devastating. I don't think anyone really came out of this game with much credit, honestly. A couple of half decent performances. Lingard wasn't horrible, but I think just the overall sense that the players were not that up for it. The level of intensity had dropped, significantly. And sure, it didn't matter. It didn't matter because United are going to Wembley. They got the goal. That was enough. And there's a cup final to look forward to, and that's great. But this was draw, loss, and the performance pretty much got worse in each game. After that great sort of November-December period, the bubble, pretty much burst after the whole game. Yeah,
no, I couldn't agree more. And that was... you mentioned complacency earlier, and I wrote an article for you, Max, about how United are peculiarly complacent. And I think it was slightly misunderstood in a few places. What I was really saying is they have this problem where they know they're going to be better than almost everyone they play against. And that isn't false bravado. It's true. They're going to be technically a better side than almost everyone they come up against, but they haven't proved themselves yet. And it used to happen under Van Gaal that so many of those 0-0 games, we were just so comfortable for the whole game that there's almost like we lulled ourselves into a false sense of security. And I feel like it's not the same mechanics. It's not the same in terms of the style of play, but the underlying psychological mentality of it's too comfortable for the players and they sort of rest on their laurels. I feel like I've seen that happen quite a few times this season.
I think that's right. And it's a little strange, isn't it? So, sure, United are still in 4 competitions. So now through to the 5th round of the FA Cup after the victory over Wigan, into the knockout phases in the Europa League, final of the League Cup. But they're 6th in the Premier League. 6th. I mean, it's not exactly the form over the season that tells you that there should be a hell of a lot of arrogance about it, Not arrogant, just better. Well... yes, we're a bit arrogant and not really better.
Yeah. But, of course, so that was kind of a bit worrying. And some of the worries of that have been a little bit offset by the very excellent second-half performance against Wigan, although, well, obviously there was mitigation there. But it was a great deal of fun, and that has kind of been a bit of a lift. But one of the things that should have offset some of those, of course, is that we are in the final of the League Cup. It was interesting watching Michael Carrick's post-match interview because he sort of looked distraught, really.
Yeah.
That they played so badly and lost that kind of unbeaten run or unbeatable run, as Mourinho calls it. But of course, United are through to the final. But they're going to have to play a lot better than they have done since probably Borough on New Year's Eve, not counting the FA Cup games against Minnows, championship sides, when they play Southampton, not Liverpool.
Not Liverpool. But it's a pattern this season, isn't it? There have been some good performances, almost no good performances against top sides. Very few of those.
Spurs, Arsenal,
yeah, Arsenal-ish. Spurs was decent, although it was a Spurs side, clearly fatigued. Not too many at all, and bullying a bunch of other the rest of the teams, which is what we got against Wigan, I suppose. So, and I don't know. There's clearly progression from the last 2 seasons, but there's clearly a work in progress as well. And Mourinho's still trying to, it seems, sort of 8 months into the job, work out which of the players he really likes or not. And he's got this kind of, it feels like he's not very happy with some of his players and he's going to pick on them, doesn't it?
But listen, Jose's got us playing the way that United should. Oh, yeah. That song, slightly unfortunately timed, getting its serious Man United debut in a game where we were playing nothing like Man United should, but nonetheless, a very fun song. Always nice to when a song catches, even if it isn't an original creation.
No, many people pointing that one out.
Yes.
Yeah. So look, that was Hull. I guess United can trash that one now, given the performance and the result against Wigan at least, and we'll put that down to must do better. We'll see. United playing Leicester this weekend, and Leicester, mostly cold this season, sometimes hot. We'll see whether they can turn it on for United's visit. But Wigan, what did you make of this one? Because the first half was super, super flat. Goal sort of a couple of minutes before half time, but before that, Wigan did really well. They're probably feeling very hard done by to going down at half time.
I mean, it looked like a team built around a double pivot of Schweinsteiger and Marouane Fellaini for most of that 45 minutes. It looked exactly what you would expect. There's some talent there, and it could impose itself occasionally, but generally speaking, we looked really lacklustre. And Anthony Martial was playing up front, and he looked like a player who'd been told, if you're not good in this game, you're never going to play for Man United again, which is essentially, not never again, but, Mourinho had, he dropped him after a very good performance indeed against, was it Borough that he was excellent against?
Right.
Then Liverpool, I didn't think he was that bad, but the dominant narrative around that, and clearly what Mourinho thinks, is that he was not really that good in that game, which felt kind of harsh. But then he's been dropped from sight. And Mourinho sort of saying, well, look, we've got a lot of players in these positions, and it's true, but he didn't put them on the bench, and he was asked about it, and he said, not selected. And then he was asked about it again, and he said, well, he's going to play in the FA Cup, and if he plays magnificently, he'll play again against Hull at the weekend, which
is really unfair for a very young player who's clearly has some fragile confidence. Also, disingenuous from Mourinho to say there were 5 players for that position, because he was really talking about the left wing position, right? Where Martial has basically only played for Mourinho today.
Apart from the first half.
Yeah, today was an exception to that. But yeah, sure, Rashford has played down the left. He's not a left winger. Mkhitaryan's played down the left. He can definitely play there. Lingard's played down the left. He's not a left winger. Mata's never played down the left for Mourinho, so it was just kind of not really that true that there are 5 players competing for that position, not properly anyway. Sure, maybe Mourinho believes this is enough to stimulate Martial into something better. Maybe he does. He looked like a kind of frightened rabbit, didn't he, in the first half? Looked and much more comfortable in the second half, which is odd, really, because I think his most explosive performances for United have been down the middle in those first sort of, 10, 12 weeks that he was at the club. And he looked like a potentially world-class number 9. Today, he looked anything but that. I mean, he was coming way, way, way too deep, trying to search out the ball all the time, getting in Rooney's way, getting in everyone else's way, and it just didn't look comfortable at all.
But I mean, and then the other thing is to heap pressure on a player and then play him at number 9 in a team with Marouane Fellaini, and Bastian Schweinsteiger and even Rooney behind him is just cruel. It's just cruel because, of course, he's going to be all over the place and coming for the ball because the ball isn't going to go from front to back quickly. I mean, that first half could not have been more Van Gaal if Reece James had been on the bench. Oh, wait. Reece James was on the bench for Wigan,
yeah,
but still.
It was. Schweinsteiger, Rooney, Fellaini, I mean, the axis
and Mata on the right as well. Obviously I won't hear a bad word said against the greatest player in the Premier League, but, poor old Martial and Mkhitaryan looking at each other like, are we the same, species as these other people when it comes to speed, I know,
and it led to a pretty disjointed and not very fluid and not very pacey first half from United. No surprise there, I suppose. Mourinho said in his interview after the game that he'd had a few words with the players at half-time, and they responded to it, which I suppose they did because it was quite fun in the second half. United actually got moving and scored some goals.
A word for the Fellaini goal as well, though, because it was brilliant. It was like, that's exactly what you want. If you've got Schweinsteiger and Fellaini on the pitch together, make one of them hit a long pass to the other one at the back post. Like, brilliant. That's what we should do in that circumstance.
Yeah, very true. I mean, Fellaini didn't get off the ground at all. You kind of wonder what the defender was doing there. Really should have defended it better. But yeah, very strong. Let's call it very strong from Fellaini.
One of the things that the defender was doing was having like a very bony arm in his neck. Like, that's why he didn't get off the ground. It's 0-0. I have not seen a goal, as Warren Joyce should have said in his halftime interview, if there had been one. Anyway, completely transformed second half. Funny that Mourinho's taking full credit for that. I mean, he did some smart things. He moved Martial out to the left and Rooney through the middle, which was completely effective and completely changed the game. But also Wigan had to come out a bit. And once it was 2-0, it was all over, wasn't it? An absolutely fire cross from Martial, who looked to player transformed by being moved out to the left. It looked like he had an awful lot of fun out there.
Yeah, 2 assists from in the second half, and looked a little bit more confident. Got the ball in front of him, which was obviously much better for him than coming towards the ball all the time. I don't know whether he'd been instructed to come towards the ball in the first half, or he just felt he had to do that, or didn't really understand the role, or whatever it was. But he definitely wasn't playing on the shoulder of the defender, and he just got more space on the left, and he just looked much more comfortable for it. Lovely cutback and cross for Mkhitaryan's goal? Smalling's goal.
Yeah.
Smalling's goal. Yeah, that's right. To make it 2-0, another header. Good old Mike. And then another...
Mike Smalling has played very well in this game, this Louis van Gaal tribute game.
That's right. And the Mkhitaryan goal was very nice indeed. Lovely move from United. And
This one I do not approve of because we did not have good ball possession. It was counter-attacking goal. It's not so good.
You've kind of blended Van Gaal and Mourinho there for a second.
Listen, all these accents are approximate at best.
Don't do that if you try and enter the United States, all right? Probably not a good idea.
That third goal was a thing of absolute beauty. The Mkhitaryan picking the ball up right on the edge of the area, running basically to the far end of the centre circle, slipping an absolutely perfect ball to Martial, who stuck his tongue out and sprinted like his life depended on it, and then really, really calmly found Mkhitaryan, who made up for his not so good first half miss. A little word on some of the coverage around Martial. I upset Gary Neville by quote tweeting his tweet about Martial should show a love of the game and saying maybe Gary Neville knows something that's going on behind the scenes, but to me it looks more like a lack of insight than understanding. And Gary Neville was like, I think I've seen enough football matches to have an understanding and of footballers' body language. And I wrote a long thing back to him saying, look, you know more about football than I will ever know, but I just don't think he's right about Martial. I think Martial has a very specific personality type. If you picture Martial's face when he was celebrating the winning goal of the FA Cup semi-final, that I think is probably the only time since he's arrived at United where he's allowed his unfettered personality to be let loose. He's a laid-back person, but I think it goes beyond that. I think he's a person who is very well defended behind an exterior wall of pretending that stuff doesn't bother him. And that is what a certain kind of pundit who Neville... He's not... I mean, Neville... He can be very technically adept, Neville. He's not an idiot in the way that a lot of the pundits are, but he definitely is a bit of a, passion merchant, isn't he?
He is. And I do wonder whether Ferguson, if he was in charge of Martial, wouldn't have kind of pegged what kind of personality Martial is. One of the things Ferguson was legendarily good at is working out what the player needed. Did he need chewing out? Or did he need an arm around the shoulder? Right, and horses for courses with every single player for Ferguson, and maybe Neville's spell in Valencia didn't help him learn some of the nuances of that. I thought you were much less offensive to Neville, which was fine debate. You two had on Twitter than I was when I compared. Well, a couple of years. I don't think he blocked me, but he definitely unfollowed me after that when we had a debate about what was it, Shinji Kagawa's best position. I think it was.
The thing is, like, people are like, oh, look at you having a chat with Gary Neville. And I'm like, he sent one tweet to me going, I know a lot about football. And I sent him 7 tweets. That's not a conversation.
No, that's kind of stalking.
He was not interested. And rightly so. There's no reason he should have been. You're welcome on the show anytime, Gary. You know that. I mean, Martial kind of... I don't know whether that counted as playing magnificently for Mourinho, because I think he's going to set an arbitrary standard and decide whether or not he lived up to it. But Martial left, Ibrahimovic centre, Mkhitaryan right. That's first choice. You know, Rashford as kind of first backup to almost any of the three of them. But that should be the first choice front three, because Martial and Mkhitaryan can also keep up with each other, both kind of technically and physically. Not an easy feat.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Mourinho set a standard he's demanding from Martial. Martial certainly wasn't that in the first half. So, don't know. I mean, he was
in the second though, wasn't he? And he got 2 assists.
And he got 2
really
assists.
Nice.
Doesn't really mean much with Mourinho. I mean, he had a very good game before Martial against Borough, as you mentioned, and was dropped after that.
It's just because he's publicly said, you know, if he plays magnificently, he'll play again. It'll be interesting to see what he does. Schweinsteiger, word about Schweinsteiger, who Mourinho is making lots of very positive noises about. I think we're going to see a little bit of Schweini in backup situations. The 5th choice midfielder in the squad, no doubt.
Might have to be. You know, we've got quite a thin squad, really. As apparently Mourinho has told the board has told the board this week, according to the Times, or our friend Duncan Castles, who should probably have the inside track on what Mourinho's thinking, since he lives under Mourinho's stairs.
The Schweinsteiger's performance, as producer Tom pointed out in the Rantcast WhatsApp group, very, very, very rusty at first, but he seriously grew into that game to the point at which he pulled off a classic shinner overhead to score a really nice goal. Keown, one of the world's worst co-commentators, saying he should score from there.
Brilliant. I thought he had a good second half, Schweinsteiger. I mean, look, he's obviously a bit chunky and quite slow and pretty rusty, but against this lot, he more than found his level. And he seemed to grow into the game and really enjoy it. I thought last 20 minutes, he was all over the place with the ball, and he was tackling, wasn't he? Getting the ball back for United, and it was a very enjoyable sort of last half an hour of the game, and he was right at the centre of it.
And he tried another overhead as well, but then he kicked someone in the face, thus denying Anthony Martial an excellent goal.
Yeah, talking of which, Martial put the ball in the net, didn't he? How displeased did he look?
Yeah, not good. His real feelings definitely showed through his impassive face there. And lovely to see Timothy Fosu-Mensah, of course, who was pretty good. I think he went off maybe with cramp or something, meaning that there was a fullback substitution to really enhance the Van Gaal feel. And also it was a player being given his Man United debut because, you know, this was a Van Gaal tribute game. So there we go, the full match. Axel Tuanzebe, not a fullback in anyone's book, but he did a decent job there. But Fosu-Mensah, like really, after maybe sort of 5 or 10 minutes of nerves or whatever, he really was quite dominant down that side and looks a really natural replacement for Valencia if we need to. I mean, the crossing needs work, and there was the shot wasn't ideal, but it was a really fantastic bit of build-up and sort of energy and commitment and all those sorts of things.
I mean, Fosu-Mensah's got such sort of immense natural talent. He could play in multiple positions, right? Actually, Warren Joyce was talking this week about the sort of philosophy, sorry to use that word, behind some of his coaching. Some of his coaching at United. And obviously, you know, there's like a couple of dozen players who've come through to have very good careers during his time at United. Not all with United, but I think United have long held the policy of, well, if we can't get them into the first team, they should have a good career somewhere else. It's also a very profitable enterprise doing it that way. And they're, you know, all-round players. And he said players that he knows who have a little bit of X factor. You know, that's the most important one in the top player. But apart from that, it's players who are comfortable playing anywhere. And he talked about Marcus Rashford being able to play sort of anywhere. And I think Fosu Mensah is of that school. He could play in midfield, he can play at right back, he can play in central defence. At some point he's going to have a best position. I wonder whether that's not central defence, but we'll see. He's still very young and he's certainly comfortable at right back.
Yeah, and it was lovely to see him in the team, as it was to see Luke Shaw. 4 blocks, 4 clearances, 4 interceptions, 100% tackles won.
Did very well. Look, he's United's best left back, right? Just on natural talent, and Mourinho is unconvinced. He gave an excuse about having 1 attacking fullback and 1 defensive fullback the other week. Yeah, maybe. I'm not. I think I said at the time I don't really buy that one, but maybe it is that Mourinho just doesn't rate the player. I thought he was fine today. And he just needs games. He needs to keep fit, clearly, and needs to do things that Mourinho wants, which is defend soundly. And he's not made too many mistakes defensively during his time at United. He made a howler at Watford, and that seems to have cost him for most of the season so far.
Yeah, no, absolutely, but it was nice. It was nice that he acquitted himself well, because what you just didn't kind of watching through slightly gritted teeth, hoping he doesn't, nothing goes wrong in this particular game, because that could have cost dear. So in the end, it was 4 really nice goals, a very comfortable win, 4-0. In a way, you could say it was kind of harsh on Wigan's first half performance, but in the second half, as soon as Wigan had to do anything other than just try and keep United out, they were kind of swept aside. And in a way, like, I've been joking about how it was Van Gaal-esque. Oh yeah, in the final Van Gaal-esque move, he changed the goalkeeper to give Joel Pereira his debut, which, like, nobody saw that coming, right?
Yeah, well, good for Joel Pereira. I mean, he had a very good half a season away on loan, and it's kind of a bit unlucky for him that he's had to come back to United to be the 3rd keeper. So this is reward, I suppose. He's not going to get very many minutes in the first team. He might not get any more this season. He's going to play some reserve football. Not a lot, because there aren't a lot of games at that level, and it's not great for him. I suppose Sam Johnson earned the right to go and get some minutes elsewhere. We'll see next season.
A career elsewhere,
yeah. Joel Pereira's a good keeper, by the way. He's not going to unseat David De Gea anytime soon, but he's a good keeper. He'll have a good career.
How many times do you think we're going to hear about the fact that Mourinho gave 2 players debuts? I think he might mention that once or twice in the future. Yeah, we might be hearing about that.
It's on the same track as saying that Van Gaal gave 14 youngsters debuts. Yeah, he did, but how many of them actually played much?
Kind of a lot, really, compared to most places, but still. Anyway, through to the next round of the FA Cup. When's the draw? I guess, is it tomorrow?
Yes, it's on some daytime TV show or something, isn't it?
Okay, no idea, but that's a shame. I wanted to talk a little bit about the upcoming League Cup final, and obviously we'll do a proper preview. What did you make of Liverpool's complete? And they lost again in the FA Cup as well. It's not going well at all up the road. But yeah, it looked like we might be playing them in the final, because when they got Southampton in the semi-finals, they were in excellent form. But they are, as many people have observed, a one-man A team.
Apparently so. Yeah, I lost to Swansea at home the other week. Lost in the League Cup to Southampton twice. And lost in the FA Cup this weekend to Wolves. Couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of blokes.
Yeah, and we've got Southampton, and I think it's going to be a big test of United if we're not in considerably better form by then.
Well, which Southampton turns up? The one that battled really hard at Anfield, the one that played very well at St Mary's against Liverpool, the one that battered Leicester the other week, or the one that absolutely got smashed by Arsenal?
Yeah, that's a good question. I suspect it'll be the good one. That would be my guess if I had to guess.
Yeah, we'll see.
Should we take some Twitter questions and see what the listeners have got to say about all this?
Alrighty.
At BRoy1709, Brian Roy says, is Jose Mourinho's treatment of Shaw and Martial to intentionally test their mettle as opposed to genuinely wanting to sell? He's always had a penchant for men, in inverted commas, with cojones like John Terry, Drogba, Zlatan, even Fellaini. I think genuinely wanting to sell them is miles and miles and miles wide of the mark. He is a manager who manages by confrontation, who manages by putting people on the spot and demanding that they live up to his standards. And historically, there's been an enormous problem with certain kinds of attacking players because they don't tend to have that kind of mentality. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much spot on.
Just tarring a whole group of people with a big fat brush there, Paul.
In what way?
These creative types can't take a bit of digging out, can they?
It's just a different. You have to. It's a different job. It requires different aspects of the human psyche to be good in those areas.
I'm yanking your chain.
Okay.
But look, fine, yes, and Mourinho is famously confrontational in his management style. There are plenty of companies out there that do a similar thing, and some of them get very good results. In football, I don't know that every personality is like that. Not all players, even very good ones, are mentally as strong as all of that. And Ferguson was very good at working that one out. He had some teams with some players who had massive balls, absolutely massive. Think about his team in sort of 94, 95 era, 93, 94, 95. There were some huge personalities in that. But he also had some teams where he had very few personalities of that kind. Lots of quiet but determined players. And, I think some of the nuances of management are working out both. Mourinho has tended not to do that, and where he finds players who he doesn't think match his archetype, he's booted them out and frozen them out. And he's done a little bit at United, did it lots and lots at his other clubs. And sometimes it works for him. Sometimes it blows up in his face.
Yeah, absolutely. So Thorsten Sonchens asking, does this match, meaning the Wigan game, has this match shown that Martial is actually better out wide?
I don't know. It's one game. He certainly looked more. He looked more confident in the second half, playing on the left than he did through the middle in the first half. I've seen him play some excellent games at number 9. It's how you play the game at number 9. And as I said, he was coming too deep and coming towards the ball all the time. And I don't know whether that was a plan, but it wasn't working for him. When he got space, and he had a lot of space because the Wigan fullback was backing off him, he looked much better, didn't he?
Absolutely. Stuart Barker @_Chew Barker. Good name. Would we be happy with a Premier League finish outside of the top 4 if we can win 2 cups? Slightly presumptuous, I know, he says.
Yeah, very presumptuous. I mean, it's going to cost the club about £40 million if that happened. I don't know whether we care about that one, but I'm sure the bean counters upstairs certainly will.
Is it that little? Is it just 40 million? I reckon if you tot everything up, it's going to be more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, that's just the contractual obligations. So, yeah, tickets, although they've got some half-decent crowds in the Europa League, haven't they? Broadcasting revenue, is going to be even more than that. Of course, it depends how far you go.
Machiavelli says, was Hull the best away atmosphere you've heard? It was good, but I don't know about the best. Derby last season sounded absolutely incredible. That one sounded fun. But I've picked this question basically, Ed, to ask you about 90s away Man United trips. What were some of the best?
Oh God, I'm on the spot now. Some great ones at Anfield, White Hart Lane, small grounds like Norwich, and stupid ones where United took over at Plough Lane and Selhurst Park. And that kind of thing. Yeah.
So what happened?
Well, when they were a little looser around ticketing in the 90s, and you could get hold of them quite easily, United regularly had 3/4 of the ground. So this is early 90s. This is showing my age somewhat as well.
It's like the Fulham neutral stand, isn't it, when we play there?
Yeah. That you say it doesn't happen anymore. Obviously much tighter segregation and much tighter control of tickets. Very tight control of tickets if you're United, to the point that you're not going to get an away ticket unless you know someone who will sell them to you from the executive seats, allegedly.
At Dave Boyd, but yeah, Marcus Rocco was at Stoke. Did he get that in the ballot to use the?
He's not in the loyalty pot, is he?
I mean, I don't know. He's played for us for 3 seasons. Now, how many seasons do you have to play for us to get in the loyalty pot?
10.
Okay. At Dave Boy says...
Unless you're Wayne Rooney, because I think he opted himself out of that one.
It was tough on you last week, wasn't it? It was tough on you.
Not at all. Not at all. I just like to have a jibe because it winds people up.
And a lot of people really enjoyed the awesome montage at the end of the show last week. I just want to say that not only was that all Tom's work, it was also Tom's idea. So thank you for that, Tom. That's
Oscar-winning Tom.
He's been nominated for awards, lads. He's
He's
going to leave
Oscars
us.
of sound editors. Yeah. Well, he is. He's going to go to LA. He's going to discover that wandering around LA is full of babes. Right? Just go and sit on Santa Monica Beach for a while, Tom, and you'll never come back. Never, ever.
Because you won't be allowed out of the country. Could anyone of you explain why I get so giddy, says @DavyBoyBoy, when Bastian Schweinsteiger plays for United, and even more giddy when he scores a goal? He made my Sunday. There's something about first of all, there's something about the fact that he's like, a legendary footballer and a World Cup winner and all that kind of stuff. But there's also something about the grin he plays with that makes him extremely endearing. And I think he's done a pretty good job of staying super professional in terms of his public persona while very difficult circumstances behind the scenes.
Well, he's obviously very smart. He hasn't been moaning. He's just got all of his national team members and ex-players to moan for him.
Yeah. And... it did a little tennis celebration there after he scored.
Very nice, yeah.
Clearly been watching the tennis earlier that day. Talking of tennis, Attic_Afan says, how do you cope when there's no football during the summer? We get this question every year, right? Well, in odd-numbered years. I love it.
I'm a sports fan, so I'll be watching all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, I do like tennis. I played tennis quite a number of years. Not to any amazing standard or anything like that.
You had a little good jump serve that you worked on as a teenager. I remember that.
Yeah, and I got some decent coaching at university and stuff like that. So, I didn't really play too much once I, became a professional and joined the workforce and all of that.
I thought you meant you didn't play too much after you became a professional tennis player.
Yeah. I watch all the cricket. Which, is always good. So I don't mind. It's there's always something to watch. And plus, honestly, it's not that long without football. There will be some football this summer, for sure.
Pre-season starts in July. It's a month and a half, and which, for me, is like a nice palate cleanser.
Right. And at the rate United are going, we'll be in the Europa League qualifiers, which will start in about June.
Despite us doing well over the last few weeks, says @Shrikant_Nima, I'm still not fully confident of us finishing in the top four. Same with you. I don't think anyone is fully confident because we performed well for a little while, but there's been a real wobble at a time when there needed to be no wobble, and we're still not in it, and there's a long way to go and a lot of good teams above us.
Those 4 points drops in recent games would have not taken United into the top four, but would have taken United on level on points with Liverpool, right, in fourth. So they could be very, very crucial. And points dropped against sort of mediocre opposition when United should have won may well be the difference between United getting into the Champions League or not. We'll see. So Liverpool, will this bad run of form continue for any length of period? Will Manchester City sort of previous bad run of form end? Are they now back? How long can Tottenham sustain what they do? Do Arsenal have their usual post-February, post-March wobble and fall off? United are going to have not only go on a very good run, the kind of run that we had in sort of November, December, early January time, but probably will need one or maybe even two teams above them to not play as well in the second half of the season as the first. So,
definitely. We definitely need two teams to get less points than they did in that first half of the season, right?
For sure.
Ammon Palman says, do Martial's assists count? Because he wasn't smiling. It was funny, because actually Gary Neville, right, although I disagreed with him on the point he was making, it wasn't a completely wild, insane point. As often happens when Gary Neville says something publicly and it's a bit controversial, the first opportunity Phil Neville gets to talk about it, he does what Gary did, but worse, with kind of less intelligence behind it. So Phil Neville really did basically say, you want to see him playing with a smile on his face. Come on, Phil. Come on, mate. You can do better than that. It's like when Gary said the thing about Loris Karius, which was kind of reasonable, and then Phil Neville was like, oh, he shouldn't be talking to the press. He just wants to jump on whatever Gary's saying, but he just never quite gets it.
I think it's a nonsense point generally, right? So what? Why should you show some kind of level of passion? It's kind of really crude analysis. Happens in all sports, though, Roger Federer won his 18th or 19th Grand Slam today. say he's barely played with a smile on his face for the last 20 years. People have accused him of being a robot. Well, he's a bloody good robot. If Martial can be a good robot, I'd be happy with that. He doesn't have to smile for me. I don't care.
No one with half a brain cares. It should be said. It's people who are paid to have opinions about things being desperate to kind of be worthy of that place, really. Anyway, is David De Gea's place under threat after that Romero masterclass? Asks Steve Williams at Across the Keeper.
Oh, certainly, yeah. I think Romero should be in the team. Totally, world class.
Yeah, that was funny, wasn't it? The double save. I feel like Sergio Romero is a goalkeeper I'd really enjoy watching if he played for someone else.
Yeah,
because he's kind of good sometimes. Like, he does some real good stuff occasionally, and then it's like, oh, it goes all proper wrong.
I'm quite happy with him playing at home against Wigan. Fine. Yeah,
that is true. At Stevens BK says, who from today's game, apart from the regular starters, can have a big part to play in the rest of our season? I think that is a really good question. So you're not allowed to have any of the front three. Unless you want to say Rooney, you can have him. But I would say maybe actually Schweinsteiger might be the one who's going to have the most kind of surprisingly high percentage of games. And not that he's going to play a lot, but I think he's going to play maybe a lot more than we thought he was going to.
You think?
Yeah, I think he's going to rotate him in a bit for Carrick in that midfield three sometimes.
Well, look, Mourinho's approach has evolved over the season. He spent a lot of the first half of the season with a similar team, didn't he? A lot of new faces have come into the team, and through the cup games recently, he's made a lot of changes each game. So I'm not certain that there really is a starting 11 right now. I think Mourinho's happy with sort of 20-man squad, and he's going to use it all for the rest of the season. Will anyone come through? Well, the big question for me is a big what if, right? So if Ibrahimovic gets an injury or needs a break, and we know he's superhuman, so neither of these things are very likely, what happens then? Is it Rooney goes up front? Is it Rashford goes up front? Is it Martial goes up front? Maybe one of them becomes the hero.
Maybe. Of course, Luke Shaw as well, another player that could theoretically play a big part if he can somehow convince Mourinho. I'm just including this question because it's so well written. At Mark_E_F, friend of the Rantcast, Mark Ferguson says, did Shaw shank his redemption chance? Hold on.
Oh, wow.
I'm on my feet, Mark. You get the standing O for that one. Too good. No, he played very well. How did you feel, asked at Gary_1105, when you woke up this morning? Anything in particular on your mind? It's funny, I was watching that chant on TV, and it really didn't sound anything at all like the tune. So the tune goes, woke up this morning feeling fine. There's something special on my mind. Last night I met a new girl in the neighbourhood. Oh yeah. Which, on telly, the chant sounds nothing like that at all. But having watched some footage from in the stand, you can hear the tune. You can hear that some people in that collective are singing the tune properly.
Yeah. Are you saying Mancunians aren't good at singing?
No, not at all. I'm just saying that chants based on pop songs vary wildly given how accurately they... it's Carrick, you never believe it's not Scholes. It's an approximation of the actual tune, right? That's, that's the deal. Why doesn't Mourinho rate Basti? Asks at K_1993_shy.
I think it's something to do with him being old, not that mobile, and a bit big boned. Maybe.
Yeah, I think you might be right. At Haldorp, this is an amazing series of questions. I'm just going to read all of them one after the other. Do you think having 7 games in February instead of 3 like Liverpool will be more or less fun for the fans to watch? Also, my last tweet was exactly 140 characters. Is that experience more enjoyable or less than seeing Schweinsteiger score? The second tweet was also exactly 140 characters. I should go for a hat-trick, but I don't really have another question. Getting exactly 140 characters in a tweet is good, but not as good as Bastian scoring. And 7 games in Liverpool in February is going to be tough. And I guess we should start talking about some upcoming games. if I've got my dates right.
We should do. Did you see the interview with Donald Trump recently? Sorry to bring him up again, where he claimed that Twitter had 160 characters, was moving to 160 characters. I mean, the man can't get anything right, can he?
He definitely can't get any policy decisions right, that's for sure. He's a bad person doing bad things.
When he doesn't get his extra 20 characters, we know who he's going to blame.
He's been invited on a state visit to Britain, and it's just not going to happen. It's either not going to happen or it's just going to be massive protests all over the country, which he will neither care about nor acknowledge happened. But, that's... So...
Of course, the Glazers donated to his cause in the election. Maybe you'll do a turn at Old Trafford.
Right, anyway, talking about games in February, which is a more cheery and less depressing topic. United have 2 games in February in the next week.
Yeah.
Hull City on Wednesday night. Hull City, feels like ages since we've played them.
Ooh, big game. Can we get revenge?
It was 1-1. I don't know what you're talking. It's 1-1.
To be honest, I think we just need to turn up and win.
I mean, it's at home, right? So you'd think that's going to make a difference. Under the Old Trafford lights. Is that still a thing? I tell you what, it's going to be absolutely fascinating to see the starting 11 for that game. And I think we have to consider that as well in conjunction with the Leicester game, which follows kind of hot on its heels at the weekend. We play Leicester at 4:00 on the Sunday afternoon. So I wonder whether he's going to rotate or if he'd play this very similar starting 11s for both those games because there's enough time in between them. And I wonder how he's going to set up against Leicester because the one time they've looked really good this season was basically when Pep Guardiola was just like, what do you mean Leicester won the league by playing counter-attacking football against possession-hungry sides and we should just sit back? I wonder whether Mourinho will go, no, actually, we are just going to sit back and try and let Leicester have the ball.
Yeah, I'm not sure that'll happen. But it's not too bad, although it looks like there's a lot of games coming up. United, it's a Wednesday, Sunday, and then a whole week to the Watford game. Then it's the start of the Europa League game. So I don't think he needs to necessarily rotate a lot between Hull and Leicester. So I think he'll be playing what looks like a very full strength side against both Hull and Leicester, and it will be some combination of De Gea, Valencia, Jones, Rojo, Smalling, 2 from 3. I don't know when Bailly comes back in. Left back's a big question, isn't it? And the usual midfield: Herrera, Carrick, and Pogba. And I guess the 3 up front will be interesting, but it's definitely Ibrahimovic and Mkhitaryan, and the other ones are open for grabs.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope Martial starts against Hull. I just really hope he does because, I think he deserves it, and I think he's the best choice we have in that position. Much as I like to see young Rash getting game time. Like I said earlier, I feel like he should be first reserve in all of those different positions across the front 3. I wonder whether Bailly will be featuring in these games. Because he's going to be back, isn't he? He might be back already, in fact, because Ivory Coast went out of the Africa Cup of Nations.
A few days ago, yeah. I'm sure he is back in Manchester and he'll be training and Mourinho will have to decide, how much time he needs to reacclimatise. He won't be jet-lagged, so I'm assuming he'll get back into it quite shortly, and it's not as if he needs to have 2 weeks off and all of that stuff because it's in the middle of the season. He took it okay unlike Sadio Mane, who was devastated. I'm not sure whether it was devastating at the loss or the realisation that he's going to have to go back to Liverpool. What's
our first choice centre-back pairing when we can select from everyone?
I don't know. Early in the season, I would have said, the 2 best, Smalling and Bailly. But I don't know if that's true anymore, is it? Jones and Rojo have been near flawless. But he's got to come in, though. He's the best talent, isn't he, of all of them? Smalling's not had a great season. Fine today, but it's Wigan, right? It's not like he had to do a lot of defending. So if it's Bailly and one other, not sure.
I think it's a really interesting question. I wonder whether he doesn't work better in a partnership with Rocco in a way. But then, yeah, because actually Rocco's like quite good communicative central defender. He's quite good at guiding, leading a partnership in a way. Not that Bailly necessarily needs that, but, you would hope that Bailly could be the junior partner in the relationship in terms of decision-making and stuff, just because he's so young. But I don't know. Do you want to break up that partnership of Jones and Rojo? I think these are big decisions. I mean, now the one that I would have last in that pecking order is Smalling, who I think has really regressed again. And he had a very good calendar 2015 between getting sent off against City and the injury that he picked up around Christmas of that year. And hasn't really been great ever since. Even the second half of last season, he was a little questionable. But Mourinho's an excellent coach of defenders, obviously. So yeah, I think how do you think Hull are going to set up against us? Because they've been playing like this very solid 4-1-4-1, and I guess they'll do that again and just like really defend in very deep blocks and try and hit us on the counter attack.
Played 3 at the back the other week, not against United, right, but in the league. So I'm sure they'll set up to frustrate for sure. Though they'll have some confidence from the fact that they outpassed, outshot, outthought, outthunk, outfought United on Thursday night.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you would imagine there would be less complacency in the United team going into this one.
One would hope, wouldn't one? Yes.
And then Leicester. I do feel like Leicester is a team that you have to. You can really nullify Leicester, can't you? In the form they're in this season, unless they somehow rediscover themselves.
Right, and so everyone did. I mean, we talked about it at the end of last season. The easiest way to beat Leicester is to give them the ball because they're not that good with it, and they don't really have any answers to playing that way. And it took Ranieri a long time to figure that out or to attempt to change something. You try to change it by moving to a diamond, obviously to have a little bit more possession, and it was a total mess the other week, wasn't it, when they got spanked in the league. So, and they're only a loss away from the relegation zone. It is kind of crazy. Regression to the mean, as you'd say, but
it's almost like it's regression to the mean plus, isn't it? It's like if they'd finished third in the league last season, they'd have regressed to the mean, but because they finished first, there's like regression to the mean and the added factor of like all the hunger draining out of them because they've just won the league, and none of them will ever do anything as amazing as that again,
right?
Because it's the most amazing achievement, among the most amazing achievements ever in football. It must be kind of difficult to know you're never going to be anywhere near that again.
And they basically haven't had a good result for a long time. They drew at Derby in the Cup this weekend. They got spanked by Southampton. They got spanked by Chelsea. They won at Everton, but this was a very below par Everton team, wasn't it, in the Cup? They clearly weren't taking it that seriously. You probably have to look back to when they beat Manchester City in early December for the last time they actually played quite well.
And Algeria still in the Africa Cup of Nations? I think they were teetering. They were certainly teetering after the group stages. I think Tunisia and Senegal might have gone through from that group, actually. But yeah, anyway, whether or not they're out, it'll be interesting to see whether Mahrez is featuring in that game, even if he's back, because that will all be quite fresh. So yeah, some big challenges facing Leicester, but for United, I mean, an absolutely enormous opportunity, because par from these two games this season is definitely 6 points, isn't it? There's no doubt about that. And if we do get 6 points before we next record another podcast, then that kind of battle for the top four might look different all over again. It could be a pretty important pressure moment in the season, really, a kind of a turning point a little bit.
Well, it could be, because Liverpool got a whole host of tough games coming up. They play Chelsea at the weekend. They've got to go to Hull, I guess.
It's incredibly tough to go to Hull. One of the hardest fixtures in the whole division.
They play Spurs. City haven't got too much coming up. And Spurs haven't got too much either. So it's important that United do get the 6 points. Liverpool's the one that United will be hunting down at the moment. We've done that before. They've got the tougher fixtures coming up over the next month or so. United actually, loss at Hull aside, look at the fixture list coming up. There isn't much. There's certainly no one competing for a place in the Champions League until United play Chelsea in mid-April.
It's mad though, isn't it? Because we said at the beginning of January that with the exception of the Liverpool game, there's an awful lot of winnable games in January. And actually we maybe did a little better in a little tougher run. So you just never know, do you? That's the thing about this crazy game we all love called football, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But, you've got to capitalise now. Got to, because when it comes to April and May, it's almost certainly there's going to be the rearranged Manchester City fixture in there, or maybe in March. It depends on the Europa League. There might be no midweeks available if United do get through in the Europa League. March could be it. But otherwise, it's going to be a hell of an April with, possibly City, Chelsea games, and then Arsenal and Spurs coming up in May.
Yeah, so it's really... These 6 big points this week. I said you can't predict the future in this crazy world of football that we love. Let's predict the future in this crazy world of football that we love. What's going to be the scores in these 2 games?
Well, last week I said 4-0 and 4-0.
50% correct.
50% correct, yeah. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win over Hull.
Okay, wow.
Rein it back a bit.
4-0 was your prediction when we were playing them away in a game where we were already 2-0 up. But here you reckon 2-1.
Yeah. Just, going with the flow of fixtures, being reactive to it, I guess. And Leicester, United have got to go and win. Got to go and win. Tactics are very important, surely, but it just cannot afford to not win. So let's say 2-0 to United at Leicester.
Okay. I think we might do quite well against Hull at home. I think we might win 3-0. And I think we might win 2-1 against Leicester. There you go.
Very good.
That's what I really badly hope, that we win both of these games. Because if we do, it'll be a lot of fun to talk about it when we get together again to chat about that in a week's time. In the meantime, if you back us on Patreon, stay tuned because there's more coming. And if you want more Rantcast every week, head over to patreon.com/Rantcast to find out how you can do that. And thank you very much to everyone who has done that so far. Otherwise, you can get us on Twitter at UTD Rantcast for me, at United Rant for Ed. And otherwise, we'll see you next week.
See you then.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.